I want to show you how to add a thumb gusset by using a bridge. This mitt was worked in the round from the top down. When I was ready for the gusset, I cast on extra stitches, joined them back to the body of the mitt, and then kept knitting across the back of the mitt. On the next round, I just knit across those new stitches. And eventually, I introduced some decreases to decrease away the thumb gusset. The advantage of this technique is I did not have to break the yarn. This is all one piece. So let me get some yarn and needles and show you how this is done. Here's a tube of 1x1 ribbing in the round. I'm going to show you how to work this technique for reversible lace. If you are working on a different base fabric, such as stockinette or garter, some of the maneuvers will be a little bit different, but I think you'll see enough in the video to be able to figure out what to do in those cases. If you have seen my video on how to do tubular cast on in the round using waste yarn, then some of the maneuvers I'm about to do will be familiar. So I have a little waste yarn tab, and I have cast on 5 stitches, 1 stitch for every pair I intend to have. So we have 5 here, eventually we're going to have 10 stitches, 5 knit purl pairs. And what I do is I work until I am ready to join in my thumb gusset, and then I bring up my waste yarn tab, and I start by working knits across the waste yarn tab. So 1, 2, after the second one, stop and give it a good tug. You don't want extra yarn in there that might make your join loose and gappy and not very pretty. Okay, so that was 5 knits. I'm going to turn the work. And now I need to create, since I'm on the purl side, I need to create 5 knits so that I have my knit and then purl pairs. Well, the first knit I don't have anything to work with, so I'm going to have to just make a yarn over. I bring the yarn to the front, and then I slip this purl stitch. I slip it purlwise with yarn in front, and then I take the yarn to the back. Now for the next knit stitch, I have something I can work with. I have a running thread. So with the yarn at the back, I can knit in the running thread, and then yarn to the front, and slip purlwise with yarn in front. And I just have to do 3 more of those. Okay, so knit, and then yarn forward, slip purlwise with yarn in front, knit in the running thread, yarn forward, slip purlwise, and these last couple are going to be a little tight because remember, we paused to take the excess out so we would have a good firm join. So this last one can be a little challenging. Let's see if I can get it. And there we go. Okay, there's the last one. Okay, and let's turn the work again. Okay, so I've turned the work again. And what I just did created my tubular edge, which will match the rest of my tubular cast on and bind off that I use for reversible lace. So now all I have to do is work 1x1 ribbing across this tab. And so I will do that. So 10 stitches of 1x1 ribbing. And since I like to work my ribbing using combination knitting, that's what I'm going to do here. don't let it throw you off that I'm purling in the direction that may not be the one that you usually use. And the fourth pair. And the fifth pair. Okay, so that's the end of the bridge. Now I need to join the bridge back to the main body of my mitt. And you may be thinking that the place to join is at the next knit purl pair on the left needle. My suspicion is if you do that, that you will get looseness through here. So what I decided to do was join back here at the last knit purl pair I worked before I went into the bridge. And no doubt you're wondering, wait a minute, how are you going to do that? Those stitches aren't even near the end of the needle. This is why I fetched the crochet hook. So the stitches on the needle are the offspring stitches. The stitches down below are the parent stitches. So I'm going to knit and purl in the parent stitches. So I'm going to get in the left-hand shoulder of that knit parent stitch, and I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the purl stitch, except I'm going to go back to front because it's a purl stitch. And so for that one, I even got a little pointy stick to help me. So back to front, and then wrap the yarn, pull it through. Okay, so that's my knit purl pair. I'm going to put those on the left needle. Okay. At this point, what you will probably want to do is slide some stitches around. I have found you will want the gap, whether you are working in magic loop or two circulars or double points, you will want the gap between needles at the middle of your thumb gusset. So I will put half my thumb gusset stitches on the right needle, and then I will put the other half on the working needle, and then here are those two stitches I just made for joining. I put them over, and then I'm going to yank on them to tighten them up. So yank and yank again to make them good and snug. I want a good tight join. And now I can go into my 1x1 ribbing, and I would just keep going. I'll work a few rounds and then I can come back and pick out the waste yarn. Now this is going to give you a very low gusset. If you prefer more fabric on the thumb, there's an alternative you can do. You can work a thumb tube. For the thumb tube, I would cast on in the round and work this little tube before I even started the mitt. Leave it parked on needles, break the yarn and leave a tail that's long enough to weave in. And then when you are ready for the thumb gusset, just work 1x1 ribbing across the tube. Do that same maneuver with 2 stitches in the crochet hook to join, and then keep going. The downside is you'll have 2 ends to weave in, but in the long run, I think this may actually be the easier maneuver to do because you don't have to work forth and back and forth. So whichever way you like, there you go. That is how to add a thumb gusset by using a bridge.